After returning home, Cole followed his sister's instructions and fortified the compound inside and out, even installing surveillance equipment at the entrance. That night a team of soldiers came to the neighborhood and knocked on doors to organize the residents to go to the designated place for quarantine. But Cole lay on the floor and didn't move, letting the soldiers knock on the doors until they got tired of shouting and then left for the next house. 2 weeks passed and Cole was barely surviving on solar charging, but the family had run out of food and he had to go out and find supplies. Cole was an experienced scuba diver and his equipment came in handy again. He put on a wetsuit and reinforced his limbs even if he encountered the infected. Cole was able to defend himself. However, he searched several neighboring houses and never found any supplies. It was only when he entered an open room that Cole met an old woman with paralyzed legs whose daughter had long since married away from home and had been left unattended during the evacuation. Cole sympathized with the old woman but didn't have any food to share with her. But she smiled and said she knew the area like the back of her hand, and with her guidance, Cole found a lot of food and even a motorcycle, so he could go farther afield to collect supplies. With the two of them living together, Cole found it nice to have company, and he hoped to wait until the end of the virus. However, one night the old lady told Cole to turn on the radio and a staccato female voice came on claiming that the quarantine zone set up by the government was completely out of control and if there were any survivors they could go to the Rosa River crossing and meet up with the people there and they would be taken to the Galilee Islands in a boat. Cole listened to this and was struck by the fact that that was where his sister had taken refuge and he decided to take the old lady with him the next day, but she refused on the grounds that she had difficulty with her legs. Cole said sincerely that he would not leave any of his companions behind, but the next morning when he packed his things and was ready to notify the old lady, there was no response on the other end of the walkie-talkie. Cole had a bad feeling and rushed to the old lady's house to find a note on the table that said, "I hope you can live a good life." It turned out that the old lady had passed away so as not to drag Cole down. Cole's heart was full of sadness. After confirming that everything was ready, Cole rode his motorcycle towards the port of entry. Before he left, he made a trip to the nearest quarantine site. The roadblocks were still there, but the tents that had been set up were in a state of disrepair. Obviously, the radio hadn't been lying. The trip to the Galilee Islands was a must. As Cole passes through a mountain road, a mass of infected bursts out on either side of him and he slams on the gas, making a daring escape. But his back is drenched in cold sweat. Before he knows it, he's at a makeshift shelter and decides to take his chances by going through it. But then the tents come out again, and he panics. Cole staggered out of the camp and finally made it to the entrance door of the port before the infected caught up with him. But the glass door was too fragile and was quickly crushed by the crazed infected. Cole was able to get through the security fence on his hands and knees and was barely able to escape the zombies. However, he was not happy. The harbor was full of boats and not a single survivor in sight, and he didn't know if the Good Samaritan on the radio had just left or if he had already been infected. Cole didn't think twice about finding a speedboat and heading for the Galilee Islands.